again. This is Helen, lesson 4. By now, you should have had all of your elements put on the background fabric. The ribbons are on, the image is on. You've got a bow and you have some trim. Remember, we left off with the seed beads. And I did want to mention to you, the size seed bead that I use is a number, 11, seed bead number 11. And I'll tell you something interesting. The needle that we're using is a milliner's number 10. It fits perfectly over the needle, so you don't have to switch to a beading needle when you're sewing. That's why I use what I use. And the thread, my ribbon work thread, is like a beading thread, so it's perfect. Dual use thread. All right. We'll deal with some flowers now. So these are just little pre-made flowers, quite pretty. And in ribbon work and designing, you want to put on your biggest flowers first. So I've decided you could put a flower here, but that makes this area a little top heavy. Or you could put it way out here, but it's a little bit isolated. So I'm going to recommend that we do something in a little garden right around this area. So we'll sew that on. Now, how do I sew that on? You can do it a couple of ways. If you get your needle and thread and anchor into the flower itself, and I'll just take the time to do this and show you. Again, you're using your three holding stitches. And I'll see what I'm doing here. Don't you hate it when it just pulls out? Of course. So here we go. And I'm going to do just one more stitch to make that hold. And this will happen to you too. Every little nook and cranny that can get caught on a piece of thread will. So there's the last stitch. Now I know I'm really good and safe. So I'm just going to pick up my postcard and position. I want it to go right around there. So I find where it is ended, and I'm going right through there. And there it's on. Now, that was only one thread. Once I know it's in position, I just work from the back and I push everything through. Now, you must not do this on your best table, but if you have to push through with a little dab on your table, a work surface. So now that's on, and I do 3 stitches with that. I like it. Let's see if you like where that's positioned. Now I have a couple more flowers to put in, and I'll do the exact same thing. I'm going to nestle this little tiny rose in here. This is a little accent flower, and it just makes the whole thing pop. Then I'm going to put in a little rosette right there in pretty autumn colors. And that picks up some of the little autumny tones. And then one last little rose will get set in the design this way. And you'll notice that I'm floating the design to go around so that our eye is constantly moving around the picture. There's not a stopping point. So once these little guys are on, you can see where they fit right here. And they're well anchored on. You see, just carry your threads across to attach one to the other. What else do you notice that's right here near them? This is some leaf trim, and I really like this stuff. It's very inexpensive, and those of you who have the kit for this project will have this in your kit. So we need to place a little bit of that. So I take a few stitches in the end of the stem and place them under the flower, and then instead of just having it go in a straight line, I force it to bend. And I do my sewing stitches, and I'll just point out where I would sew. I would sew at the base of the leaf and at the point of the leaf. Then come up to here on the back side, the base of the leaf, the point of the leaf. And do you notice my leaves aren't flat? Look at the finished piece here. See how the leaves have a little bit of a bend in them? Makes it a little bit more interesting. So you can use gold beads or green beads on this. Either will be fine. Now, the other place where I put some of this vine was down here. So again, same reasoning, same everything. Just tack it on and let it vine down into the piece. And of course, another piece for over here. And you can use as little or as much as you want on that. So that would complete the basic postcard once that's on. You'll notice too that I had seed beads right here. I think we mentioned that in the lace lesson, where you could add some gold seed beads. What you may not have noticed though are the extra doodads. Now these are things that you would have in your stash perhaps, or that you might purchase separately. But I added a nice button, and you might have some other buttons. A glass button would look very pretty up here too. I also added in here just this lovely leaf, and it's on the same line as these little glass flower beads, which are very pretty. And you could add a few of those in if you wanted to. I didn't for this project because I had something else I wanted to add. If you'll notice, I've got a little urn here, and I have a little cluster of flowers. These are both hand-painted porcelain pieces. They have tiny little holes in them. Let me show you the little flower cluster. Can you see it has two little holes there? You just bring your anchor in the fabric, bring your needle up, put a seed bead on, and go down the same hole. Come to the next hole, come up, seed bead on, down the same hole. And that's how those get sewn on. So they're quite sturdy. Same for the little urn. The other thing I had in my stash was a nice little antique tassel, which I thought blended in with all of the ribbon pieces that I used. Now, if you're going to finish this as a real postcard, and yes, if you send it in the mail, you have to put it in a padded envelope. Post office will not take it like this. And who'd want to send it like that anyway? So what you would need to do is cut a piece of cardboard, and you can pink the edges or just keep it plain. I would keep it plain. Take the cardboard and cut it to the size of the fabric that you're using, and then glue it. Remember we have the tacky glue? Just glue the whole thing on. Ooh, you say tacky glue. Ooh, that's all right. Just make a nice smear it on. Don't do big globs. Smear it on with a paintbrush. Use your fingers, smear it out, and then tuck it. Okay? Then what you do, you can get your sewing machine, and I know a lot of you ladies have lovely sewing machines, so if you want to, you can get it out and sew around this edge right here. Then you can take out your holding stitches. Then you could come in with your pinking shears and pink it. And I've got a sample here. It's not the same design we did today, but here's a sample here with the sewing machine. And there is the back. And I just hand drew a piece of cardboard that said postcard. Okay, and you can even put a little bit of Peltex or padding under that if you want to pad it just a little bit. But you can see on this design here we've used a ribbon, we've used trims, fabric image, etc. So I encourage you to learn the classic way and then branch out and do something different. All right, I've got just a few little extra things to show you, and I promised some show and tell on what you can do with your project now that you've finished it. And I hope you've all finished it, because then you get in the drawing for this. I'm still at it, ladies. I'm still encouraging you to sew. I do want to see some pictures. So I'll just go and get some show and tell things together, and then we'll come right back and show them to you. I'm back with my show and tell, and I hope you've finished yours so that you can show and tell me with your pictures. Here's what you've just made, this beautiful little postcard, and I wanted to show you something. One of my friends saw me doing the project, and she said, oh, I want to have a go, I want to have a go. So she sent me this. It's not finished, but a little bit different take, all the same elements that we used. A few different flowers, otherwise interesting arrangement. Isn't that pretty? I hope yours is going to look as nice as this too. I have a couple of other little things, perhaps on a little easier scale. Here's something that you can make. I bet you've never seen a doggy bag that looked like this. Use of a fabric image, and you see how we use the seed beads to tie that on. a few little handmade ribbon flowers, and this is made all of silk, and the silk was bonded with that fusible cotton that we showed you. Very simple to make. The doggies love it. And here's something really fun. Fabric image, a few little bits and pieces, and you'll notice it was all on one piece of fabric. I didn't break up the fabric on this one. Inside is a needle holder and a bead pad. Remember we had that foamy stuff and put our beads on it? That's what that's for. So a nice little needle book. And this piece here is something that we did at one of my retreats. And it's a journal, if you will. And I'll just open the pages for you. And this is something that you can do too if you get into ribbon collage work. You can make all of these kind of things, because you see it could be a postcard, couldn't it? So when you open the page, you might have a collage piece, and I love to collect all the bits and pieces that I do on a project. Or you might just use the little journal as a collection for your own postcards. And there's just a couple more in there. Don't be afraid of nice bright colors either. Again, a little 1920s theme. You'd think I liked it. And then the little Christmas one. And you can just keep adding those to a journal that you might have. Or you might have a little tote bag. And while this one isn't finished, at least you get the idea of a postcard, and you could just put your fabric, obviously you would also, way better than I, but you would make a seam and fold your fabric around the piece like that. The other thing you can do is to put a piece of trim around here and frame that. But a cute little bag, something handy for your fabric image. And then you can see this one here is framed. So if you want to put it on your wall, you can. And then this piece here, this is bigger than a postcard, and it would be a little bit of a wall hanging. Now you're probably thinking, gee, she does all that nice work and she puts it in such a rotten frame. Ladies, this is my traveling sample, so it has to fly with me. So it's all in foam core, and I just put some ribbon trim around it. These are all fabric images. This is a project that was inspired by our Italy trips. When we take the ladies to Italy for a week, they make one of these. You think you can't do it? Oh yes, you can. Learn the classics and you can do the basics. All right, I've got one other thing to show you, and that is this piece that's beside me. I'm known for my ribbon flower work, and this is just a pretty little opera jacket that a friend made for me, and then I went and did all the ribbon work on it. And all of these flowers are in my books and on my DVD. And I know one or two of you are going to be lucky and get one of these DVDs because you've finished your project. But for those who would like to just have flower work and know more about it, then you can get this on my website. And we've got lots of other kits there. And I might mention I've also got a kit for the project. So for this piece that we're doing today, that you've all finished, there is a kit for that if you want to make more. And then my website is the 3ws.helengibb.com. Ladies, I hope you've enjoyed my class. I hope I've inspired you to try something new. And if you do, send me a picture. Thank you.